Hi friends. So it was a big day for India yesterday. India was playing Australia in the ODI crucial ODI series, trying to stay in the tournament because India had already lost the first one at Perth. So the second one at Adelaide, where India was unbeaten for the last almost 18 years. The last time they lost was in January 2008, and which was also supposed to be the home away from home for Virat Kohli, who has scored plenty of runs, tons and tons of runs in every format, including his debut century in the Test match. So it was also a fabulous occasion for India to draw level and then hopefully take the decider to as a final one in Sydney to clinch the ODI. So it was a very important ODI series match yesterday for Indian men's team. For the women's team, it was almost like a must-win match for India against New Zealand, because that was that last of the Sena countries, and India has had a terrible record against Sena countries since 2020. They have not won a single game in an ICC trophy match against a Sena country. So they were playing the final Sena country, that is New Zealand, in this World Cup, and they had already come into this match with three consecutive losses against the three Sena countries, that is South Africa, Australia, and England. And though they had quite a decent chance to go through to the semi-final, even if they lost against New Zealand, because they were playing Bangladesh in the last match, whereas New Zealand was to still play England, and New Zealand's run rate was pretty poor. But India would have liked to sealed the semi-final slot in a very fair, square manner yesterday, and would have also upped their confidence by beating a Sena country rather than depending on run rate or depending on the final match. So that was another important match which was going on yesterday. And besides these two matches, there was one very important match which took place yesterday, or which culminated yesterday. That was a test match between Pakistan and South Africa. Now the question is, why a test match between Pakistan and South Africa suddenly becomes so significant in Indian context? I will come to it little later. Let's first get into that first important match, that was the men's match, which started in the morning Indian time, that is the day-night match at Adelaide. And once again, Indian batting was tested under challenging condition on a pitch which had a little bit of movement and also a little bounce, though not as bad as in Perth, but it had a little bounce, but it was moving around a little bit. And oh my god, once Hazelwood, why he is considered one of the best contemporary bowlers in all format. Perhaps it was one of those rarest of spells where a bowler ended up without a wicket but having such a heavy impact on the match, with such a fantastic impact, with such an magnificent performance. He didn't take a wicket, but his opening spell created havoc among the Indian opening batters, and it gave a clear message to players like Rohit Sharma that it was not possible for them to really go hammer and tongue in the first power play and to put India in a driver's seat with a run rate of around 6 or 7 that India is so much used to in the subcontinent condition. It was a clear challenge for only saving your wicket against Hazelwood, and Rohit Sharma, after a couple of misadventures, realized that it would be suicidal if he was trying to play his normal game that he plays in the subcontinent. So he had to grind his way out. He has to take out the slog shot, he has to take out the pull shot, he had to take out the flamboyant on drives or the cover drives. So he had to bide his time. After a long time, one saw Rohit Sharma going at almost less than 50 strike rate or a run rate in the power play. He was hardly maintaining a 50% of strike rate. Till the time he reached 50, he was taking all the care to ensure that India didn't get completely into a shell or get bundled out, because when Bartlett came and instead of Stark for the first change, he created superb movement. He didn't try to be extravagant with his movement. He maintained the line and length because he knew the pitch would help him, and he's not a 140 kph bowler. He's just a 125 to 135 kilometers per hour bowler, but he maintained fabulous line and dependent and used the movement that the pitch offered to take full advantage. And very soon India lost 2 wickets, because first Captain went Subman Gill, who has to, by the way, prove himself under challenging condition in a Sena country in a white ball format or a ODI format. He has already proven it in England in the Test match, though some people may argue the pitches were very flat, but at least he has proven there with flying colours. But he has not given out a performance as a captain's knock or something in the ODI format so far in this series or even beforehand. And yesterday he once again perished after struggling for some time, and then came Virat Kohli and that iconic moment, because Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli had both failed in that first ODI in Perth, and there were question marks and there was serious chatter going on in the social media and among the fans that whether they are in a downhill slide or whether they are going to last the entire cycle right up to the 2027 World Cup, or whether they have lost it. And Virat Kohli was more under pressure because he had come with a duck, and while Rohit Sharma was showing signs of trying to hang in and actually put a decent total, when Virat Kohli came, India was already one down, the run rate was in atrocious position, the ball was moving around a little bit, and Hazelwood and Bartlett were in full swing. And at that moment, he committed an error, and not that usual error of flashing outside the off stump. This time he was fantastically trapped by Bartlett, because Bartlett bowled 3 outswingers and then brought one inside into his pad, and he was perhaps not prepared, or maybe that was where the lack of practice or lack of match fitness showed up, where he was a little late to put back to the ball which was sharply coming in, and then he was plumb LBW once again for a dog. So 2 dogs in back-to-back games. Never it had happened in Australia for him, and it happened at his most favourite ground where he had scored tons of runs, that was Adelaide. And he waved his hand, acknowledged the crowd's cheer and all while leaving, because he knew he had got so much love from the Indian fans there, even including the Australian fans, because of the kind of performances he had shown right through his career there. So it was a little ironic that he was dismissed for a duck, and he is not a kind of a person who would be carrying that pressure and allow it to stress him. He is a person who relishes that stress, that pressure. But of course, there are a lot of chatter now going on, and there will be a lot of discussion about Rohit and Virat. Luckily, Rohit has exonerated himself with that 73, which was a mature innings, not at all an innings of class or absolute flawless cricket, but that's where credit goes to him, that he adapted according to the situation. He played for his country, he realized he needed a different approach, and he was ready to grind it out there rather than just giving away his wickets. So credit to him. Now the swords are not much hanging over Rohit, but they are definitely over Virat, even though Virat may not give a damn, even though the team management right now may not give a damn, but it would be playing in the background. And any more setback in the coming 6 to 7 games is going to affect the whole dynamics of Virat Kohli, his inclusion in the team. If not the inclusion, at least there will be pressure. But anyway, unfortunately, India could only score 264, but the problem actually was with India trying to negotiate the Australian bowlers, who were much better with their height and their movement and their accuracy on the 2 pitches, which were actually conducive to seam movement and also a little bit bounce, because let's not forget this series is being played in the month of October, which generally is not actually the peak of summer for Australian condition cricket calendar. So it was still a winter for Australia, and that is the time when the pitches are a little spicy, they offer a little help, and maybe that helped Australia to a large extent. And the fact that they won the toss on both the matches, and India continued to lose tosses, because now I believe India has lost 17 tosses at a stretch, which is not a good sign, but it is very strange that the probability is maybe 1 in a million, and yet India has lost now 17 tosses. And it didn't help that on Australian pitches in the month of October, in a winter time where pitch have something to offer in the first hour. In both occasions, Australia won the toss and put India into bat, and it didn't help the Indian batting, that they had to struggle. In the first match, they were 27 for 3, if I am not mistaken, and yesterday they were 29 for 2 at the end of power play. So when you are so much behind the run rate, as well as you have lost wickets, it would be an uphill task to even go and post a formidable title. You may put a respectable total that India did yesterday, because coming from 29 for 2, losing Virat Kohli for a duck and Subman Gill cheaply, still India managing 264 in spite of losing regularly wickets. That shows that India did a pretty decent job in trying to put a respectable total. But one knew that 264 might have been a fighting total but not a winning total. And when Australia came into bat, credit goes to Indian bowlers that they bowled fabulously well. All of them chipped in with wickets. For most part, there was a serious pressure, and Australia never got a chance to completely run away in the first 25 overs. But then 264 was a total which was not at all going to be beyond achievement or beyond capability of this Australian lineup, even though this Australia team was heavily depleted in the batting department, because there was hardly any experience beyond Mitchell Marsh and Travis Head, and once both of them left quickly, there was a chance, there was a fear that Indian bowlers who were bowling fabulously well, both the seamers as well as the spinners, could put pressure and Australian batting could wilt, because they didn't have the maturity or the experience. You can't expect players like Michelle Owen or Matthew Short or even Cooper Connolly to take you to the target all the through against some quality bowling of Arshdeep Singh, Siraj, and even some very utility bowling from Harshit Rana, and also pretty good spin bowling from Akshar Patel and Washington Sundar. It would be really a very Herculean task. But then Australia showed why they are the world champions, why they are one of the best cricketing teams for all time. And they showed that even if they lose players like Steve Smith, Steve Smith and Stoinis and Maxwell to retirement, and even if they have lost Cummins, their charismatic captain, for the entire series, and so has been Cameron Green, their most impactful all-rounder. And even though they have lost player like Josh Inglis because of injury, they could still score runs and they could still play under pressure and win matches against big teams like India, because of the mental toughness, because of their self-confidence, and because of the self-belief. And they did exactly that. And the fact that India once again dropped catches, had really terrible fielding effort once again, which has been continuing right from the test series in England, then in the Asia Cup, and now yesterday's match, which really cost India the match to a large extent, because Matthew Short was given reprieve twice. He was dropped twice, and both were easily catchable opportunities. And Matthew Short went on to score 73 or 74, and then that really turned the table against India, because that time India was still having a 50-50 game, and if Matthew Short would have got out, that would have put pressure on the lower middle or tail of Australia. But once he continued there and kept on scoring run at a pretty decent clip, then it became really tough for India to hope for a breakthrough. And then came players like Michelle Owen, who really stamped his authority with some fabulous stroke play. It didn't look like he was a rookie in the international cricket. He showed why he's such a fearful batter in the domestic cricket, and he started hitting out with perfectly cricketing shots, and he scored a quick fire 30 plus in no time. So that showed that what a fabulous batter he is, and he changed the complexion of the match and put the score running the required rate very much under control. And then when Cooper Connolly came, that was a revelation. Cooper Connolly had 5 matches prior to this match and had a average of 5 runs with total score of 10 runs. Such a player coming in with wickets down and the bowling attack being so formidable, and there was pressure, the pitch had something to offer, and there was not much depth in the batting or confidence or quality in the batting beyond him. And he played like a real match winner. Superb technique, superb stroke play, superb confidence. And then he just took the match away from India, and India had no answer to him, and he looked composed, calm. His technique and his temperament was fantastic. He looked a real package. So Australia finally won the match with just 2 wickets. But to be very fair, the lack of experience in batting was to blame for the kind of closeness that match finally ended at, because they should have won it comfortably, because they won almost with more than 24 balls to spare. So they had no business in losing so many wickets, because there was not much pressure once Cooper Connolly and Mitchell Owen were there. But somehow they went for big shots and they gave wickets, and there was a little bit of harakiri by the Australian lower middle order and tail. But then eventually they had to win, because India had not put in enough runs, and Indian bowling didn't have the kind of arsenal or the kind of potency to restrict Australia ultimately below 264. So yes, Australia won the match, and with this the series, and now India will go to Sydney with only academic interest, but they can try out a few players, and hopefully finally the prayers and the scream of the fans and some sane voices would be heard. Kuldeep Yadav would get a match, because he is your match winner. Let's not forget Adam Jampa took 4 wickets and was a major factor in the decision or in the outcome of yesterday's match. So even though the pitch had something for the seamers and Hazelwood was brilliant, but Jampa showed that if you bowl well in that pitch, it had also something for the spinners. Just imagine if Jampa could take 4 wickets, what could have Kuldeep done? And when actually Cooper Connolly or even Mitchell Owen were going berserk after Indian bowlers had done a decent job in snatching quick wickets, and including that of Travis Head and Mitchell Marsh. Kuldeep coming with his mystery ball, I am sure Cooper Connolly or Mitchell Owen would have, who had not played him earlier, would have struggled, and maybe that's where there was a chance for India to take those wickets and win the match. So there is always a room for a genuinely match-winning mystery spinner or bowler like Kuldeep. You may play Washington Sundar or Nitish Kumar Reddy for the runs they score, but then for the runs of say 15 to 20 they score, would they be able to take 3 to 4 wickets to completely turn the tables and win the match for you, like what Kuldeep could do, or say for that matter somebody like Shane Warne could do? That is something India has to look at. India's obsession with all-rounders. Once again, Harshit Rana played a brilliant match yesterday, but again the same question would keep on coming between Harshit Rana and Prasidh Krishna, because Harshit Rana scored 24 runs. That is always a positive for him, because he scored them off 18 balls, and that also gave India the total for which India could actually, with the help of which India could fight. Otherwise, India might not have reached even 250. That would be one argument, which is a valid argument. But then the question comes that Harshit Rana, in spite of taking wickets of Travis Head and Mitchell Owen, who were really crucial wickets, also gave away 7.3 runs per over. So that kind of a economy rate in a match where 5.2 is the run rate which you are defending, it may not look very or it may be hidden down because of the fact that he scored 24 and took 2 wickets. But then the question comes that when the time comes for you to defend a lower total, if you have a really wicket taking bowler who can also suffocate the opponent batting, that is always a bonus, and you should explore. If you have that bowler, you should play him, because you are blessed to have. So then a few questions remain about team management's obsession with Harshit Rana vis-a-vis Prasidh Krishna, or Washington Sundar vis-a-vis Kuldeep Yadav. So the question comes whether you are looking for that 20 runs, 25 runs extra, or whether you are looking for bowlers who can bundle out the opponent even though you are defending a smaller total. So that debate has been going on with Gautam Gambhir and Shubman Gill, and it will continue. Hopefully India will deliver the results that they have been delivering in the subcontinent or in Dubai conditions, but in outside conditions this may come out to be a real tricky one, and India has to find an answer. Hope they play match-winning bowlers and not completely go obsessed with the all-rounders who can bowl a little bit, like Nitish Kumar Reddy, who bowled only 3 overs. So it doesn't make sense if he just is played for 24-25 runs. You have to then find out a genuine all-rounder, or you consider him an all-rounder and make him play enough matches with giving ball to him to bowl enough overs so that he can be the backup for Hardik Pandya. Otherwise, you can play a specialist batter or a specialist bowler. So now let's come to the next match. Enough about the men's match. The women's match, as you know, India had been playing with 80% at the 80% of their potential right through this World Cup. So when they arrived at the World Cup, They were looking the second most favorite team after Australia, and they looked the only team who could give Australia a run for their money. But all the bilateral performances were going behind the door, because when India started playing the World Cup, they started playing in a below par manner, and they were 80% at least, if not 75% or 70%, 80% of their potential, and it was reflected in the kind of two wins against actually ordinary sides like Sri Lanka and Pakistan, who were actually minnows. And after that, when the real test came, India floundered. India lost badly to South Africa because of poor bowling, and Nadine declared punished. Then against Australia, they couldn't even defend 330. Again, Australia punished them, and the Indian bowling looked absolutely below par. And again, in the third match against England, this time their batting collapsed, and it was the replay of a 2017 Indian team which used to be collapsing against bowlers even when the required rate was 6 runs per over. And the same nightmare revisited India, and India lost 3 games in a row against Sena countries, and India was actually in real dire straits. And then New Zealand match became a very crucial match, though India had arithmetically chance to go through to the semi-final even if they lost the New Zealand match. But from the point of view of assuring themselves for the 4 semi-final slots, so that they would not carry additional pressure to their final match against Bangladesh, and also for the fact that they had to stop the rot regarding Sena country, because since 2020 they have been losing to Sena countries for last 5 years in every ICC tournament. So they had to break the jinx, they had to stop the rot, and they had to win against New Zealand to give them their own much required confidence that yes, they could beat Sena country, and they were back in the game, and they were back with their full potential. And New Zealand had the same issue. They were unlucky in losing points in washed out games against lower ranked teams because of the horrible weather condition in Colombo, and the horrible decision to play World Cup in Sri Lanka rather than another third country to accommodate Pakistan games. And New Zealand were at the wrong end of the stick, mostly because they lost 2 points in 2 matches because of washouts. So they were in a corner playing against India, and it was a must-win game for them because there was no other option. They had to win, otherwise they would be out. And unfortunately, New Zealand has not been playing decent cricket in this World Cup, and it didn't give them any confidence that they were coming to a match to play against the host at a venue like the D.Y. Patil Stadium, which was India's one of the favorite venues, because their crowd comes there and they really cheer for India, and there on a flat pitch, it was never going to be easy for New Zealand to come with the pressure of a must-win game situation. And the same thing happened. India suddenly found the mojo, and they've managed to up their game, and they played at their 100% potential. And it helped also the fact that they got a chance to bat first, and then Pratika Rawal and Smriti Mandhana were in sublime form. They scored centuries and took India to a total from which defeat was almost impossible. India set a target of 325 in 44 overs, which became much more tougher because of the Duckworth-Lewis system, because of the rain, and New Zealand had no chance, because scoring 325 runs against an Indian attack with a varying degree of skill set and also a diverse kind of variety, and so it was never going to be easy, because there was no chance to even settle down for New Zealand batters. They had to go for the kill, and they lost 3 quick wickets. And when they lost their most charismatic captain and batter, that is Devin, their match was almost over, because Devin has been the real linchpin of their batting throughout this tournament and even throughout her career. And cheap dismissal of her means there was not much hope left. And yes, they finally reached a total of 271 to get some respectability to the total. But India's win was never in doubt, and India won, and India now through to the semi-final. Most probably they will end up playing against Australia, because India has qualified as the 4th team, and Australia, if it beats South Africa, then Australia would be leading, or would be the number 1 team. So in the semi-final, India would be playing the number 1 team Australia. It would be a really, really tough challenge. Australia is looking invincible and formidable like every time they look, because they are in a different zone altogether. But then we all know knockout games are a different kind of games. when India plays them, it is a matter of that one day, and it's always possible one day the biggest of the champions can flounder, and the underdogs can always have a good day and create an upset. So, 2 good days is what India needs from now on to win this World Cup. So, all of a sudden, these below par performances would not be discussed about, and India would be celebrated, and the whole destiny of Indian women's cricket will change forever, and India would be then going for glory tournament after tournament with the confidence back with them. But then for that they need those 2 days, and the first day is the most crucial if they go on to play Australia. Beating Australia is looking like a Herculean task, but you never know. Upsets happen, miracles happen, India can do it. So let's hope for the best. Now let's come to the third match of yesterday. That was the match between Pakistan and South Africa, and why it's so crucial. Thousands of miles away, a match played by a country with whom India is not even going to play a single test match in this WTC cycle because of the known factors or the political factors. Why should it matter to us? Yes, it matters to us because the team that won yesterday, South Africa, is going to visit us, and they are going to play 2 crucial WTC test matches against India, where points are so vital for India because it will be a home series for India. And till now it looked India was poised to even capture full points in those 2 tests also, because it was possible that India would be able to whitewash South Africa. The way India played against West Indies and the way South Africa played against Pakistan in the first test to lose comprehensively on a spinning track, it looked India has found the magic potion, India has found the formula, India has got the mojo back after the New Zealand disaster at home. So India was going to put out turning tracks, and South Africa would get bundled out, and India would win comfortably. But then then South Africa showed why they are the WTC champion. They showed they have something in them which the regular or the other opponents or the average opponents don't have in the subcontinent's conditions. This team has the quality to fight it out, if not at least win a game in the subcontinent, and they showed it against Pakistan. By the experience that they gained in the first test playing on that rank turner against Pakistan, even though they lost badly, they worked on their weaknesses, they practiced hard, and they also got a proper balance into their team with Keshav Maharaj coming in because he was injured, and what a fabulous return it turned out to be, what a master stroke it turned out to be, because every department South Africa looked razor sharp, they looked confident, they looked full of self-belief, and they were looking like a team which was there to hit back at Pakistan, even though they were playing against Pakistan in Pakistan on a turning pitch. And the fact that Pakistan won the toss and elected to bat on a turning track, we all know on a turning track, on a drying pitch, if you win the toss and you elect to bat, it's almost like 30 to 40% advantage with you in the subcontinent, because batting fourth, chasing a target would be almost an impossible task for any opponent team, more so for a Sena country. And yet Pakistan got dismissed for 333, which was below par considering at one stage they looked at 316.5 destined to reach 400, which could have given a different outcome to the match. But 333 was also not a very bad total, and when at 200 plus for 7, South Africa was really stuttering and looking like getting dismissed for 235-40, which would have given Pakistan a decisive 100-run lead on that turning track. Everything changed. South Africa showed what makes them such a strong team and such a tough team, and they have also shown what kind of self-belief they have brought, and that they are no longer the chokers that the world believed they were, and they have also shown what practice, what preparation they had done between the gap in the gap between first test and second test to come to a stage where they have now become a formidable force. So they showed exemplary application, and the third spinner they had played who didn't take a wicket like Muthuswamy, he played a fantastic knock to take South Africa not only closer to Pakistan's total but towards 400. He first added 71 runs with Keshav Maharaj, who had a dream match both with the ball and the bat, and then he added 98 runs with Rabada for the final wicket, for the 10th wicket, and that meant it was almost like a nail in the coffin of Pakistan's destiny and future fortune, because South Africa managed to reach 304 with a 71 run lead. Now they were in the driving seat, and then their bowlers took over. In the first innings, it was Maharaj who took 7 wickets to break the back of Pakistan batting and to keep them restricted to 333. In the second innings, it was the other spinner, Harmer, who bowled brilliantly with a 6 4 wicket spell. And with those 6 wickets, he ensured Pakistan had bundled out cheaply with less than 150, and that meant South Africa needed just 73 runs. If they had to chase a total of 200, the match would have been so different. But with just 73 runs, yes, Noman only took once again couple of wickets, but this time there was no stopping South Africa. They won the test. They managed to draw the series 1-1, and they managed to share the honors and took the vital point also from Pakistan for the second test. But what it has done on a larger context or with regard to India's fortune is that the same South Africa team is now visiting next month to India, visiting India to play 2 tests. Now India would be a little panicky, India would be a little jittery, India would be a little rattled, because now they would be wondering what kind of pitches they should offer. Because if they offer ranked turners, South Africa has shown that they can really outplay any big team of the subcontinent, even in their home condition. Because they, in Markram, in Rickleton, in DeGeorge, in Brevis, and in Stubbs, have batters who have scored pretty decent scores in the 2 tests taken together, and they have shown that they are not going to be totally clueless like the earlier teams from Sena countries when they used to play on the ranked turners. They have scored sometimes 50s, 70s, 40s, which are decent enough total on ranked turners. And so India knows that the Pakistani bowling attack had some quality spinners in Noman Ali and Sajid Khan, and also in Hafiz Afridi, who bowled brilliantly also in the first innings to take those wickets. So it's not that Pakistan didn't have quality spinners. So against that, South African batters have shown they have the application, they have the temperament, they have the self-belief, and they have the ability to grind it out, to hang in there, to add valuable runs, to give a total which would give them a fighting chance. And in the bowling, they have Harmer, they have Keshav Maharaj, they have Muthuswamy, 3 good spinners. Maharaj is actually a world-renowned spinner who has also proven credential, and Harmer has been now riding high with her confidence after taking those 8 wickets in the second test. Maharaj with 9 wickets, and Muthuswamy also was pretty good in the first test. And then there is Rabada, and Rabada's pedigree and Rabada's talent everybody knows. So if there is reverse swing, or if there is a swinging condition, if there is a little grass, if there is a little morning freshness, he can create havoc. So on all the departments, South Africa all of a sudden looks pretty balanced and pretty formidable, and they don't look to be a side which India can roll over. Yes, India would be favourite going into this series, but India would be aware that this South Africa team now is a different kettle of fish, and they are now exactly looking like the New Zealand team which went to Sri Lanka, played on those ranked turners against Sri Lankan spinners, lost the series. But the experience they gained, the kind of practice they got to do, and the kind of match situation they got exposed to helped them fabulously well when they came to play India, and they were better prepared to play spinners on a spinning pitch than even the Indian team. And India, with a formidable bowling lineup that included Ashwin and Jadeja and Washington Sundar and all, failed to outplay them. So now India would be aware that Ashwin is no longer there. There is Jadeja. Of course, Kuldeep is there, and Kuldeep would be still the X factor because Pakistan didn't play any mystery spinner. So Kuldeep is one bowler South African batters may struggle, but otherwise they are now looking at a much different kettle of fish. So yes, Pakistan might have indirectly enabled South Africa or helped them to prepare much better to beat their arch rivals India in India, or at least share the honors here. That would be as good as a win for this South African young team. So that's all about that Pakistan-South Africa game and why it is so significant for India and the series coming up against South Africa in India next month. So we'll wait for that. In the meantime, let's wait for the final one day for India in the men's team against Australia, and also the crucial semi-final that is coming up for India, most likely against Australia in the Women's World Cup. That would be a significant game. So till then, goodbye.